Alright, time to rank all 7 Rocky films, starting now. Hello everyone, you're on an all-new My Favorite segment, and today I'm going to be ranking my personal favorites of the Rocky series. Now this will include the original 6 films and Creed from 2015. And the reason why I'm going to include Creed is technically a spin-off. It's by itself, but in addition to being Creed 1, in essence, it's really Rocky VII, so I'm still going to count it among these films here. So starting with my least favorite is probably Rocky V. Now, Rocky V is in essence a bit of an underrated movie. However, I just did not like it as a conclusion. And of course, Rocky was supposed to die at the end, and they changed the ending. However, I didn't really like Tommy Gunn's character, and I didn't like the promoter they had that was pretty much Don King, but above all, I can live with those things. The thing that I did not like with this film is that Rocky has some sort of brain damage from Ivan Drago, which is interesting, but Paulie ended up losing all of his money. All of Rocky's money is gone. He is dirt poor, and he has to move back to Philadelphia, basically, in the streets he grew up from. So he gets to go back to the neighborhood, and something about that is very interesting. I just, however, felt like it was such a bad ending. Everything he has fought for in the previous 4 installments, for his journey to end here, is just kind of sad. And the power of attorney, it doesn't work that way. I don't know how Paulie would lose all of Rocky and Adrian's money. But you do get some good moments here between Rocky and Adrian. Rocky and his son, played by Sage Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's son in real life. You get a lot of good moments there. You get a lot of his life coming back to being full circle, and him, in essence, living vicariously through another person's life in boxing by training Tommy Gunn. It shows you that he cares more about the life of boxing than his family. There's a lot of great little messages here. And the street fight, while it's not a real fight, is still pretty unique on its own. I like Burgess Meredith back as Mickey. But this film has to be the worst, and it's just a horrible way to end it. Now, I do like the final scene between him and his son in the statue, but it just is not the ending that this series deserved, which is why I'm glad Sylvester Stallone rectified it with Rocky Balboa. This film was just a missed opportunity, and after the heights of Rocky IV, yeah, you could tell that Sylvester Stallone didn't really want to do this. There's just no way to go. And maybe it would have been better with Rocky dying, but still, I don't think we deserve that ending either, for him just to lose everything and die. No. There's some deep things in here, but I just wish he got it all back at the end. It was just not the ending that we deserved in Rocky. And because it's a street fight, it's a great street fight, but no boxing fight, I have to put it last for that. Above that, I have 2 tied in the spot, and that's Rocky II and Rocky III. I don't know which one's better over this. I think Rocky II is a better film, but Rocky III has a lot of great moments. Mr. T.S. Clubber Lang, I the Tiger, him actually fearing loss, him losing, him coming back, that fight at the end. But Rocky II, even though there wasn't going to be a rematch, you have him and Apollo Creed. But you have Adrian in them. He basically tries to have a normal job. You find out he can't read. She's having a baby. She has to work. He can't support his wife. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. So she delivers a baby and is in a coma. So Rocky really almost loses everything in this. And again, like the first, it has a relationship between Adrian and Rocky. And Adrian's the heart of the series. And it has so many great moments. I didn't like it as much as the first, but in some ways it's better than the first. Sylvester Stallone's first outing as director in this series, I love it where she's like, win, Rocky, win, and then it has like the run. It's so great. You get to see like an early Rambo headband over his head, but the whole chicken scene, you're going to eat lightning crap thunder, kid. And then Apollo Creed and him ultimately winning at the end is very great. Him dealing with the neighborhood after winning. And then Rocky III is the eye of the tiger. It's the fame part of it. He's escalated to being a #1 boxer. And what happens when you go to the top? There's only one way down. So it plays upon that, and also with an enemy that just breaks him in every single way possible, which makes that final fight more fulfilling than it already is. And the stuff with Apollo Creed helping Rocky is so great. The death of Mickey is really such a touching and just heartbreaking scene in that film. Rocky 2 and 3 really complement each other, and depending on what my mood is, I like one over the other, but I think they're both are really great films. Over Rocky 2 and 3, even though it's not the best made film, I really, really, really love Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is just awesome. It's the 80s in a nutshell. Cold War, Soviet Union, USA, Apollo Creed getting killed by Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren, you have Bridget Nielsen. I mean, it is just fantastic. Rocky training, that No Easy Way Out scene, the soundtrack is just incredible. Rocky 4 is pretty much like a music video in a movie, pretty much. It's like a recap of the previous four. I like Adrian sticking by his side and him actually going to the Soviet Union and fighting Drago. And Drago's not just this heartless Terminator guy. No, he wants to fight for himself, not for a country. And it really does delve a big message on war and certain crisis between two separate countries, especially during the Cold War. Of like, if one person can change, if you can change, and I can change, maybe we all can change. So it really does play upon that, and even though it's very 80s type of movie, it does have some deep messages there. It still has a lot of heart. It has something to say, which is very, very rare in a lot of films, and that's one thing I loved about the Rockies. Each film has something to say. And yeah, it's just an epic movie. If you're a fan of the 80s, fan of Rocky, it's just an epic movie. I never get tired of it. Plus Vince DiCola's score. I mean, he did Transformers, the movie from 1986. It's awesome. Above Rocky IV, this was actually my second favorite before Creed, and this is Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa, the only unrealistic part is Rocky fighting in an exhibition fight. But the story is so well done that I could watch it without a fight. Like, it's that interesting. He ends up making a restaurant called Adrian's. You find out Adrian dies in between the movies. It's sad. It's ultimately a sad story, and he does play upon his age. This is a very well done Rocky. And even though Adrian is absent in this, her presence is still felt and is the heart of the story. And that's one thing that made Rocky, was that whole relationship. We get to see him deal with life without his love, and that's really crazy. And him having some fight left in him still. It shows you that it's the mileage and not the years, like Indiana Jones said. It really is a great film, and it shows you about what happens when you still pursue your dreams. In a way, he's much like the underdog he was in the first movie, but at a much, much older age, because he was already old for a boxer in the first Rocky, but Rocky Balboa pushes it even further. Milo Ventimiglia has a son. We get to see little Marie, him help out the neighborhood. Paulie loses his job. And then the most realistic fight with the HBO pay-per-view, have Max Kellerman in them there. Such a great fight. And then that ending, even though he loses, he won the respect of the audience. He got to go out on top. It's such a perfect way to end the Rocky series. I love everything about Rocky Balboa. The only thing is that it looks very different than the other ones. It's like in a digital age. It doesn't feel like the other 5 films, but it is a much, much better conclusion than Rocky V, and I could live with this ending. It is great, and it's emotional. You have that speech where it's just like, it's not about how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. If you know what you're worth, then go get what you're worth. But don't point fingers at anybody saying you're not here because of him, her, or her. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. I just love that part with his son. Such a great scene. Such a great movie. A very underrated film directed by Sylvester Stallone. Hell, almost all the Rocky films are underrated films written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. Number 2 would be 2015's Creed. I was not sure what Creed was going to be like, because I'm like, how did Apollo Creed have a son? They explained it's out of wedlock, and that's all fine, but I felt like that affected that character in a way. I would never felt that he would have done that in the original. But this is an emotional movie. Rocky Balboa got to me, but this film just takes it to a whole other level. It is a heartfelt movie. This movie has heart. Creed is in a way almost a remake of Rocky, but with Creed, but I love it. You get to see him deal with the repercussions of not throwing in the towel in Rocky IV. Apollo Creed's son Adonis coming in, asking for his help to be trained. And really, Creed feels like what Rocky V should have been, with the rapport between Tommy Gunn and Rocky Balboa. I feel like you get more of the passing of the torch with Adonis Creed, and much like another son in a way. They both needed each other in their lives. Rocky didn't want to fight, and we also get to see him deal with the greatest fight of all, going through cancer. Him wanting to die because that's what his wife died from, and not wanting to fight, and they basically give meaning and purpose to each other's lives. I also like the romance between Adonis Creed and his girlfriend. Such a great romance. It's like a next generation Rocky. I love it. I love everything about this film. The soundtrack. You have The Fire by The Roots. And again, it's visceral. The whole shot where it's all in one take, or appears to be, is just incredible in that fight. And then you get a mixture of like what they do with the HBO pay-per-view and Rocky Balboa. It is shot spectacularly, and it has a heartfelt story. A lot of humor there where it's just like, I wrote it down, it's up in the cloud, and then Rocky's like, what cloud? So funny. Above all, Sylvester Stallone I thought should have won the Oscar. I mean, that scene where he's just like I ain't gonna fix it, why bother? And he's just like, you have your whole future ahead of you, kid. Mine? It's back there on that wall. In the past. And it's just such a sad scene. That, and then when he found out he was diagnosed with cancer, and he's just like, my wife went through that, and it didn't work out. Such a sad scene. And then his transformation, and ultimately at the end where he's just like telling Adonis, like, you get him, get that son of a bitch. And he's just like, he taught me how to fight. And I'm going to do what I couldn't do for your father. So that there with a little bit of Apollo Creed's cameo when Adonis was knocked out was just spectacular. Creed has heart and is among one of the best films. It is one of my favorite films of the decade and probably my second favorite in the Rocky series. I can't wait to see what Creed 2 is like. I hope they don't get too much like the later on Rocky sequels. I hope it's more like the first three movies. But Creed is an awesome movie. If you're a boxing fan, and if you haven't seen Rocky, you could go into this movie without seeing any of the Rockies and still enjoy it. Ryan Coogler did such an amazing job with this film. And my number one is The American Dream incarnate, Rocky from 1976. Won Best Picture. Sylvester Stallone wrote this. The best sports movie and one of the best films made ever. The whole part with Gonna Fly Now, the steps. Adrian! It's like, Rocky! It's like, Adrian! That part with the end. Him freaking breaking Apollo Creed's ribs. That fight. Oh, man. Going the distance. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Such a crazy, crazy, crazy part. The stuff between him and Mickey Burgess Meredith was fantastic in this movie, and the writing is just so... It's real. It's real. Guerrilla filmmaking at its best with John G. Alvison. He also did Karate Kid trilogy. I mean, the way they shot this is probably as real as it gets, and Sylvester Stallone wrote through a lot of life experiences in Rocky. He put his heart, his soul, blood, sweat, and tears into this movie. And I know they wanted bigger actors, but I give kudos for him and the 70s for making a film like this. Rocky would not get made now. And the fact that they got Sylvester Stallone, an unknown at that time, to play Balboa is fantastic. Sylvester Stallone is Rocky, and Rocky is Sylvester Stallone. And I can't imagine the world of cinema or even sports films without Rocky. It's the American dream incarnate. You watch it, Rocky symbolizes everything that makes up the American dream, and I love it. Such a fantastic movie, brilliant performances. The romance between him and Adrian is fantastic. The fighting, the training is amazing, and he loses at the end, but him and Adrian have each other, and sometimes a loss isn't even a loss. Sometimes you win, just not in ways others expect. And Rocky won in the end. He went the distance, and that sometimes in life, that's all you have to do is just go the distance. Anyway, that's all for my personal ranking of the Rocky film series. Again, if you have a different order, feel free to let me know in the comments below. What are your least favorite and most favorite Rocky films? Click the like button and subscribe for more videos. I'm going to watch the Canelo Triple G fight pretty soon. Till next time.